Hey folks, how you guys doing? Hope you are all having a great day today. It is late Sunday when I'm recording this, but if I get a good night's rest, hopefully I'll publish this video Monday morning. That's the plan anyway. So I've got about 8 or 9 things on the list, and the very first one was the last video and article that I published, which was last Wednesday, October 17th, and that was on kind of a combo thing. Number one, introducing the Laguna Revo. I combined those two. The Laguna. The Laguna Revo 1216 lathe, and I used it to turn a 15-inch candy dish, and that was a fun project. Oh man, why am I laughing? That was a fun project. It had a large diameter turning, which I haven't done anything like that before. It was turned out of Bubinga, which I've never turned a Bubinga before. And if anyone's wondering, Bubinga turns fantastic with a spindle turning, where the end grain is going into the headstock and tailstock. The bowl turning, or the platter turning, that was a little fun with the constant, end grain going around. A lot of tear out, all that good stuff. A lot of really good suggestions on that video. So if you go through the comment section on that video, you'll see some good suggestions to eliminate tear out and reduce tear out. But anyway, regardless though, I had a blast turning that. I made such a huge mess here in the shop, which is one of the reasons why I don't use the lathe as frequent as I may, I guess, initially have thought I would use it. But yeah, it was a fun project. And I mentioned in the end of the video that I was a little bit, kind of bummed out about the, I wouldn't say really bummed out. I was just obviously picking apart all the flaws. And every time that I do that, it's always, in my opinion, constructive criticism towards myself to get better. But every time I do that and acknowledge that in videos, everyone says you're being too hard on yourself and you shouldn't do that, and give yourself a break or whatever. And all that's fun and dandy or whatever. But it's about acknowledging flaws and trying to get better. So I wasn't being too hard on myself by any means. You're just acknowledging the mistakes and get better next time. So a lot of people also suggested using carbide tools, and since I started turning, I've always used traditional turning tools, and I turned a lot of pens and spindle stuff before, and all that stuff's pretty well easy to get with a roughing gouge, basically, as long as you don't do a lot of crazy inside corners or outside corners with a spindle gouge, because that's the one that I've always been horrible with. Anyway, a lot of people suggested using carbide tools. Literally the day before that video published, so the day I was completely done and finishing up to edit and all that stuff, I got a four turning tools carbide from Rockler. So the next couple turnings that I do, I will be using the carbide tools to just hopefully not have that much tear out. Oh man, that was driving me nuts. But anyway, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Carbide versus traditional, it's all the same. As long as you can get to the end result and have fun while doing that, all the rest of it doesn't matter. Next on the list is, what do I think of the Laguna lathe? And to be honest with you, it's too soon for me to say. And also, to be honest with you, that video was sponsored by Laguna. They approached me asking me if I would like to be involved in the promotion of their new product, or the introduction, I guess you could say, of their new product. And I agreed to that. So I'm going to be a little bit biased. Obviously, there's a little bit of built-in bias when you have sponsored content. But my answer to what I think of the lathe, I don't really want to comment on it just yet because I just got it. And that's never really a good time to make a review or anything, I guess, of a product. So what I wanted to focus on there was the introduction of the lathe, showing the features of the lathe, and hey, this is what I did with the machine. Take it for face value, take it for whatever it is. So yeah, there's that. I guess ask me again in just a little while, and I may or may not have any changed opinions. So there's the lathe. Next on the list, oh yeah, so someone said use a DA sander or a sanding disc in a drill to get rid of the scratch rings. Yeah, of course. I didn't have a DA sander or a sanding disc for my drill, And it was just one of those things, like always, once I start a project, I just work with what I have. So yeah, that would work. I did try to use my random orbit sander, which didn't work hardly at all. But Bingo is just some tough stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of really nice and positive and beneficial comments with hip tips and tricks in the comment section to that video. So if you haven't already done so, check out that video and read some of the comments. A lot of good stuff there. So we talked a little bit about the Laguna. Yes, they sponsored that video, and just to be fully transparent with you guys, I've always been honest with everything that I've done. Up until 2 videos ago, I haven't done any sponsored content at all with any tool companies. I did a couple sponsored mattress videos for Lisa mattresses, which I still have and still enjoy. So there's that. And lynda.com learning website. So I've done 5 sponsored videos up until 2 weeks ago. So that being said, that's going to change. I'm been approached by several companies, and I've always leaned towards declining those because I guess maybe a little bit of a pride situation, and also a little bit of I guess long-term stability situation. So I wanted to, as far as the pride thing goes, I wanted to be able to make it on my own where no one says, oh, well, your content's bought and paid for and all that crap, which is all, you know, nonsense comments to begin with. But I also didn't want to get into the rat race of chasing sponsorship money, and then if something happens to where that situation stops, then I have nothing to fall back on. I wanted to build the core of my business and be able to maintain as it is before I took on any type of, you know, outside sponsorship type stuff. Well, that being said, I think we're in a position where we can expand and think about other things and use some other quality products and go from there. So it seems like a lot right now. It's just a matter of like a couple things all happened immediately at the exact same time. So I did work out something with Laguna, obviously with the lathe, but I also got a 18-inch, their 18BX bandsaw. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but Laguna purchased or acquired, I don't know how all that works, Supermax, the drum sanders. So I got the 1632 drum sander. So we worked out a situation, a deal, whatever, mutually beneficial situation, and there's that. Some of you guys have noticed the hammer machine in my shop from Instagram, and that machine has been on my radar for a couple of years now. And I met Felder, which is the company, the main company behind Hammer. Hammer is a division of Felder, and we worked something out at IWF, and then I had a sponsored Rockler video. I'm working with Rockler now. They're a fantastic company to work with that I've you know, from my limited dealings with them, but I've used some of their products for years. As a matter of fact, I was just looking over. They sent me one of their shelf pin drilling jigs, and it's the exact same one that I've purchased back in when I first started woodworking the first time, like 2008-ish. So I've used a couple Rockler products for quite a while now. They're a hose here in the shop to clean up. That's a good hose. So yeah, there's that. What else? Oh, my Axiom CNC machine. I got an Axiom CNC machine, and no, it wasn't provided for me. Provided to me, for me, and not sponsored by them by any means, but I do have an affiliate with them. So just wanted to be honest with you. Like I said, all that stuff happened kind of like immediately, so it's kind of like a big change, but not really. And yeah, the shop is pretty different on half of the shop, and I'm not going to get into like a shop tour or anything just yet because it's still kind of evolving and wiggling stuff around to make sure the workflow works good. I do plan on, I guess, sometime in December doing like the year end of 2018 shop tour or something like that, because I know it's heavily requested. I've rearranged my shop so many times, it's kind of like a joke online now, it seems like. But it's all for efficiency's sake and getting better with layout, and I'll just leave it at that. So So yeah, there's that. The shop has changed. Next up, I'm doing some more CNC work. I've had on and off interest with CNC stuff, and then when I went to IWF, it's just like, well, actually prior to IWF, me and Jeremy got that little mini Chinese $150, whatever it was, benchtop CNC engraver, and that kind of sparked the fire again. So I wanted to get a nice one, something that'll last me a long time, a really, you know, something that had good specifications, because this Axiom is the 4th CNC machine that I've had in my shop, but it's also the 5th one that I've ever ran. My very first CNC experience, I had a job at Ashley Furniture in Ecru, Mississippi, in their frame mill, and I ran a 4 foot by 8 foot Como CNC router. That particular router CNC machine had the table moved in the Y direction. It slid back and forth in the Y direction, and then the gantry was a fixed gantry that just moved in the X with the Z axis as well. And it had dual spindles. You could use both spindles at the same time to use, I guess, 2 foot by 8 foot of the panel if you wanted to batch out some stuff at the same time. It had some drilling operations, and that was incredibly fascinating because at that point I had no CAD experience. I had, oh, no, I did. I apologize. At that point, I was still in college, and I got an associate's degree in computer-aided drafting and design, CAD degree. So I did have a little bit of CAD experience at that point. But the coolest thing about that job was it was kind of a hurry up and wait job. You kind of waited around for items to come in. Basically, there was some production CNC routers that did all the production work for the supplying the assembly lines. And whatever was being cut on this shift was actually being assembled on the next shift as far as daytime, nighttime in the mill. And anything that was cut goes to the assembly line, and let's say the assembly line needs 30 pieces, but they're missing one. Well, then I don't know what their process was there, but they would fill out something and it would automatically print off at my printer next to my station. And as soon as it came off, I had like 2 minutes to get it cut and hand it off to somebody on one of those electric buggies to go back on the line and supply the line. So that way, within 2 minutes or so of them filling out what they needed, they would have the part right there. So it was kind of like I said, a hurry up and wait job. But the coolest thing about that job was how I was able to have full control over what was cut. So I had stacks of 15 millimeter, 18 millimeter plywood and OSB, and then it was just 15, 18 millimeter plywood, 15, 18 millimeter OSB. And what I would do is open up that file or that part. It was a SolidWorks part. I would open it up in Sigma Nest, and Sigma Nest would allow me to drop it anywhere on the sheet, and then as many as that I want, I could use, I forget the name of it, bridging. I could use both spindles or just one spindle, and then I could specify if whatever my nest was, I could specify where they would bridge in between each part so that as the bit goes down, it's one solid path around every single part, and then it completes where it first started. So I had a lot of control over the toolpath. That was a very fascinating job, and honestly, probably my favorite job that I've ever had that doesn't include working for myself with what I'm doing now. But anyway, a lot of, I don't know, no clue where I was going with that. So yeah, I'm interested in CNC stuff a lot. And since I've had this thing, I've cut several things that are both decorative as well as like solving small little needs here and there. Like I had to have a stepped bushing ring for one of my tools, and knock out a precision ring out of hickory, which is pretty dense. And yeah, so stuff like that. Also, I'll show you on the screen here. My wife and I wanted to make a clock for our daughter's room, and she wanted first off, she wanted a horse clock, and I'm like, well, we could make that. So we found a couple SVG files, one for the perimeter of the clock or the horse, and then one for the numbers of the clock, and cut it out. The whole cutting time took 9 minutes and 20 seconds. It took about 15 minutes to design in CAD, and it took way too long to paint the stupid thing. Just because we were just kind of winging it and doing something together on a Saturday night. So that was fun. But yes, there's so many uses for CNC type stuff nowadays, and yeah, I'm happy to have it in here. I'm finding a lot of areas where I'm trying not to lean on it too much, I guess you could say, for woodworking, but it's going to be a lot of long-term stuff with it. So that being said, on my list, I'm going to start some CNC stuff, content coming out, and I want to keep it to the middle of the week on like Wednesdays and Thursdays. That may or may not be published on my main channel, so if you basically only follow on YouTube and a video comes up during the week and you're not interested in CNC stuff, then just don't click on it. And I'll have CNC in the title, so it's just going to be extra content, stuff that, you know, setting up little jigs and such on the machine, or specific to CNC operations, or specific to projects that are made from the CNC. A lot of fun stuff, and it's not just me. I've got somebody else to publish on my website as well, so that's cool. Next up, we also have this Tuesday. So tomorrow, if you're watching this on Monday, the shop tours are, I say, coming back for the third time, I guess. I started the shop tour series again right before all of this like adoption out of town stuff hit, and I just kind of threw everything for a loop, and timing wasn't right as far as getting the business, you know, going again is 100%. So I've just been trying to focus on the main things, and now I'm to a point where it's leveled off and I'm back to a nice little routine, and I've got enough time to squeeze these in there as well. So this coming Tuesday will be Josh Thomas's shop tour on my website, and then we'll try and do every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, depending on how many I have to look through on my backlog of publishing shop tours. So if you're interested in shop tours, they obviously won't be here on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, so go to my website, sign up for my email newsletter, and then there's a little section you can check on for shop tours. So yeah, there's that. Next up, Sean Graham stuff. So Sean Graham is Worth the Effort Woodworking on YouTube, and really good guy. I met him in Skytook, Oklahoma a couple years ago, and very knowledgeable guy too. Anyway, on his website he sells some stuff, and one of them is this. I showed you the good side first. I wasn't supposed to do that. One of these old wooden framing squares, I guess. Ow. I'm too close to the camera. It's one of these wooden framing squares, and he CNC'd the other side of it. So that was really cool. And it turned out great. But anyway, I'll have a link to Sean's stuff. Also one of these other squares, this is a little layout tool that's got a lot of different cuts on it for various angles. So this one here is a 90-degree angle, and then you can see the 45 right there. So you can lay out for 45s, and then there's a dovetail, which is this slight angle right here. It's on both sides and matches, so you can lay out your pins and tails respectively, but he's got both of these for sale on his website. I'll post the link to all of those. Sean's a great guy, and yeah, support small businesses. They're what keeps the economy going for the most part. Whew. Next up is, I don't know. I've got a lot of things that are like in the planning stage, so I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to pick from, but I've got to make the plywood bookcases for my office, and back to my office renovation that I've yet to complete. All of it is supposedly themed white with Bubinga accents and Bubinga trim, and I don't know if it's going to take it too far, but I'd like to get the cabinets, I say it back, cabinets, the bookcases done in white, and then trim, you know, the face frame or the front support of the shelves in Bubinga, not the face frame, just the front shelf supports. And then also I was thinking about doing some custom crown molding out of Bubinga using the CNC machine as well as the cove, like cutting a cove on the table saw. That might be a little bit much for the basic styling of the office, but it also might be really fun, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. And then also, both my mom and my dad, they've been separated my whole life, but both of them are coming here this week at different times. So my mom will be here the first half, the majority of this week, and then my dad will be here from Friday and then the majority of next week. So I'd like to get one of them. I don't know who, but whichever one I can kind of trick into getting into the shop. I'd like to get one of them to turn a pen. Pen turning videos, there's so many videos on turning pens, but that's one of my more common requests with lathe stuff is, hey, make a video on how to turn a pen. So that might be another one, like table saw sled videos. Everyone's got a table saw sled video, but people keep making table saw sled videos because people keep asking about table saw sled videos. Same thing with pen turning videos. So there's that. Those two are probably going to be the next two. I don't know in which order. That's it. That's normally my cue to end these videos when I got nothing to say, and then I mentioned that I just rambled on for however many minutes this was. So you guys take care. Have a great day, and check out the shop tour video on or article on my website tomorrow. See you later.